I recently posted a video where I talked about Menworks Bourbon Vanilla, and I said that now this is my favorite when it comes to the Most Wanted Parfum DNA. However, when I just looked into the comments section, there were many questions, not only in that particular video, but any video that I have made about any Most Wanted clone. The most important question that always comes up is Dusk Till Dawn or Intense Wayfarer? Which one should I get? 24th Eve or Intense Wayfarer? Or Intense Wayfarer or Outlaw? Like, the questions are a lot. I mean, I felt that this channel requires some sort of clarification because you as viewers are raising these concerns as to you guys are confused which one you should purchase, and in this video I'm gonna make sure that I clarify everything that is in my perspective to all the clones of Most Wanted out there so that you can have a clear picture as to which one you should go for or which one you should purchase based on your budget and expectations. Okay, so if in case you are confused as to which Most Wanted clone you should be buying as of now, I think this video is going to be super helpful. So let's get started with the first recommendation, right? No, let's talk about Most Wanted EDP Intense and Most Wanted Parfum, because there is not one Most Wanted clone out there. There are total two most popular, basically most wanted, most popular. Like two variants of Most Wanted that needs to be talked about. One is EDP Intense and another one is Parfum. Both are a tad bit different. How? Imagine like Most Wanted EDP Intense to be a bit more sweeter. Okay, it has got that toffee-like note and it's a bit more youthful, whereas Parfum has got an added note of ginger, it has got more vanillic sweetness than toffee-like sweetness, and it has got some more depth into the mix. EDP Intense is a bit more stronger on your face. Most Wanted Parfum is a bit more softer, a bit more well-balanced and well-rounded. So if I have to give my honest opinion, my favorite is Most Wanted Parfum as of now, I mean in my age. However, a youthful and a young peep would have preferred Most Wanted EDP Intense, I'm pretty sure, because the DNA attracts youth more than Parfum. So that is kind of my overall opinion about the two, and when it comes to the pricing as well, there is a tad bit difference. Most Wanted EDP Intense would sell for anywhere between 7,000 to 7,500 for a 100 ml bottle. Now for Most Wanted Parfum, you add 200 to 300 rupees more on that retail price and you can get a Most Wanted Parfum. So the difference in pricing is only around 200 to 300 rupees max for the OG. Okay, so now let's move into the recommendation list for Most Wanted EDP Intense first, and then we will go into the recommendations of Most Wanted Parfum. And by the end of this video, I have got one bonus perfume, which I feel is a bit controversial, but at the same time, if you can get past a certain elements, that perfume is absolutely top notch for the budget. So for the EDP Intense, my first honorable mention goes to this one. This is just a 2 ml vial. This is EM5 Wanted. A few months back, me and Chandrima, we did a clone war for the Most Wanted EDP Intense. And over there, the closest from all the perfumes that we tried, EM5 Most Wanted was very close. Very close. Although it was not the winner, but it was very close. But there was a catch. The problem was the performance. Because at 999 for a 50 ml, we felt that the performance was a bit underwhelming. It would last around 4 to 5 hours when applied on the clothes, and the projection was around 40 to 50 minutes max. That was our experience with Most Wanted clone, which is EM5 Wanted, and that is the reason we are telling you, like, if you want the most authentic and closest to the DNA as of now from an Indian house, EM5 Wanted is really good. However, option number 2 and 3 are better when it comes to the price to performance ratio and everything, which we are going to discuss now. So at 2, I want to discuss about this. This is Perfume's Outlaw, and I have a 20 ml vial, but the 100 ml vial sells for 1300 rupees. And for 1300 for 100 ml, the effective pricing for a per ml comes down to only 13 rupees per ml. So we are going to talk about the per ml pricing as well, because that is also super important. So this Outlaw is basically on 70 to 75% there in the DNA of EDP Intense, not Parfum, EDP Intense. However, Outlaw is a tad bit different when it comes to the DNA, because over there, in case of the OG EDP Intense, the sweetness is coming from toffee. Over here, you will feel that the Outlaw is a bit more fruitier take into it. this has got the spices right, this has got some of the elements right, but then instead of going for that toffee-like sweetness, the caramel toffee-like sweetness that EDP Intense is known for, they went a bit into the fruity direction. So as of now, it's sweet, but a bit more fruity. So if you want something which smells like EDP Intense, but is a bit more fruity, then Outlaw can be a good choice. And this is around 70-75% over there, not more than that. And when it comes to the performance, this will project around 40 minutes to 50 minutes when applied on the clothes. And the overall longevity that I've received with this perfume is around 6 hours. So in terms of the price to performance ratio, I don't have a problem with this one. Now let's move on to number 3. This is also around 70-75% close to the DNA of EDP Intense. However, the direction that this goes is a bit different. This is Wanted by Menworks. This perfume sells for 800 rupees for a 50 ml. So the effective price over here is 16 rupees per milliliter. Over there, the Outlaw was 13 per ml. This is 16 per ml. So you're paying around 3 rupees more per ml basis. That is it. This, on the other hand, is not fruity. Rather, this is a bit more on the toffee-like segment that EDP Intense is known for. But over here, you will feel that the spices are a bit mellowed. Like with they got the spices right, but the sweetness was a bit different. Over here, they got the sweetness to some extent right, but then the spices were a bit different. And that is the reason I would say this is again like 70-75% close, but in a different way. When it comes to the performance, this is very similar to Outlaw. And this will also give you a projection of around 40 minutes to an hour when applied on the clothes. And the overall longevity that I've received with this perfume is around 6 to 6.5 hours again when applied on the clothes. So depending on which direction you want to go, Outlaw and Wanted are like 70-75%, just that the sweetness on this one is fruity and this is a little less spicy. That is it. Now let's talk about Dusk Till Dawn. This comes from the house of Ababel and this is a bit different, but I love it. Let me share what this is. This is basically a mixture of a DNA of Stronger With You Intensely and EDP Intense. Over here, you will feel like 80% this is Stronger With You Intensely and 20% this is Most Wanted EDP Intense. So this means that this is not a direct clone to EDP Intense in my opinion. However, this is really well when it comes to the presentation, a magnetic cap, a pressurized atomizer, and overall the entire feeling is much more premium, which reflects on the pricing as well. This is basically selling for 999 for a 50 ml. So effectively the pricing of per ml is going to be 20 rupees. So you're paying a bit more over here, right? However, the packaging, the presentation, the overall unboxing, top notch, much better than what or Menworks is offering. So this I feel is something that is very well when you're gifting it to somebody. The amount of attraction or the amount of appreciation this will get you is far more better than what the others are offering. But there's one more thing that I want to add with this particular perfume. I feel that the Most Wanted EDP Intense DNA is kind of a bit redundant. I'm not saying that it's exactly similar, but it's kind of a bit redundant, I feel, because it's very similar to Stronger With You Intensely DNA. Over there in Stronger With You, it's mostly cinnamon. And in case of EDP Intense, it's mostly cardamom. And in case of Dusk Till Dawn, you get cinnamon and cardamom both. That is what I felt. And that is the reason if I have to, just get one perfume and call it a day, which looks good, smells nice, has a really good blend quality, I can sway to this one any day. This is actually one of my favorite date night, gourmand, you can tell it, like that kind of a perfume. This is one of my favorite as of now. And I will be rocking this in this current setup, in this current winter. Okay, I'm already wearing this, I'm gonna wear it more. So that's Dusk Till Dawn, a really good option if you're going for something which is in the DNA of Stronger With You Intensely with Most Wanted EDP Intense. And that brings to the closest out of the lot in my collection, which is Intense Wayfarer. Intense Wayfarer was the winner of the Clone War as well, that we did. The blind test that me and Chandrima do from time to time for different perfumes. Intense Wayfarer was the winner and it smells awesome for the price that it comes at. 1500 rupees for 100 ml coming from Pendora scents. Intense Wayfarer is a top-notch perfume, but there is a but with this perfume, okay? I'm gonna talk about it, but let me talk about everything else. This by far is the closest when it comes to the DNA of EDP Intense in my opinion. This nails it. The dry down is very, very, very similar to EDP Intense in my opinion. And in the air, it's basically unidentical. You won't be able to distinguish between this or a Most Wanted EDP Intense if in case your nose is not very trained. Although trained nose, according to me, is, I know, mythical in my opinion, because every person has a different olfactory settings, and I feel trained nose is, I don't want to get into it, okay? All I'm saying is if you're able to detect it, great. If in case you're not able to detect it, still it's great when you're smelling it off the air. Okay, at the end of the day, you are the winner if you're applying it and nobody is able to recognize, right? So this is really close. And for 1500 rupees, you're basically paying 15 rupees per ml. And that's an absolute steal deal. And those who prefer Middle Eastern perfumes, for them, this is like the best, like icing on the cake, right? But there's one problem. The problem is when I made the video about Intense Wayfarer almost a few months back, I made a dedicated video about Pendora Sense Intense Wayfarer. After that, we did the clone war and it came out to be the winner. From that point onwards, this perfume was kind of out of stock for almost 8 to 9 months, I believe. And finally, it's now back in stock. But the problem is we are receiving mixed signals from this perfume from the latest batch. Some are saying that the perfume is smelling like chocolate cough syrup. I saw Reddit somebody posting a comment like that. To some, it was synthetic mess, but to some, it was really good. So I don't know why this thing is happening. I don't know if the perfume needs more maceration or there is an issue with the quality of the batch, the recent batch that has come up. I have no idea. I have an older batch which performs really well. The perfume lasts around 7 to 8 hours when applied on the clothes, projects for 1 to 1.5 hours, and for 1500 rupees, it's a steal deal. However, if you can get the older batches, I would say just buy it. There is no issue. But in case of the newer batches, I feel that you should wait for some time before purchasing this perfume, because chances are it's like a lottery. You might get and you will be very happy with it, or else you might be one of those people who are commenting that it's not really great. So I would say just hold off for the time, see what happens, how things are unfolding, and then maybe go ahead, or maybe try a decant and see how things are going. Okay, that's also an option. So in case you get the older batch of Intense Wayfarer, awesome. In case you're not able to, still you can wait or get the other ones that I discussed. Okay, so that's with EDP Intense in my opinion. So in short, if you can get an older batch of Intense Wayfarer, great, go for it. In case you want variety or something in the hybrid, go for Dusk Till Dawn. And if you want to save some money, then go for Outlaw or Menworks Wanted. And in case you want to smell the closest to the EDP Intense, but you're worried about Intense Wayfarer, but you don't have any problem compromising on the performance, then EM5's Wanted it also a really good option. So that's up with EDP Intense. Now let's talk about the Most Wanted Parfum DNA. And in Most Wanted Parfum DNA, I have only two options because the bonus is kind of a hybrid. Okay, so the first perfume that I want to talk about is this one. This is 24th Eve coming from the house of Ababel. As I said earlier, Most Wanted Parfum has a prominent note of ginger in it, and the sweetness over here is a bit more vanillic sweetness rather than the toffee-like sweetness. But 24th Eve again is not a direct head-to-head clone of Most Wanted Parfum. This is around 70 to 80% of the Most Wanted Parfum, and then 20 to 30% this is EDP Intense. So the sweetness that you get with this perfume, 24th Eve, is a bit different than Most Wanted Parfum, and it's a bit more toffee or caramel-like sweetness, sugary sweetness rather than vanillic sweetness or Bourbon Vanilla-like sweetness that Most Wanted Parfum is known for. And also when this perfume starts going into the dry down, the ginger kind of gets mellowed and the sweetness or the sugary sweetness or caramel-like sweetness comes at the top. So in the dry down, you might feel that it's leaning in the direction of parfum. It's not 100% Most Wanted Parfum. Although the smell is really exquisite, the perfume is very well blended. Similar to Dusk Till Dawn, this also is very good when it comes to the presentation, overall unboxing, and the perfume sells for $9.99, very similar to Dusk Till Dawn for a 50 ml. So effectively per ml, you're paying 20 rupees. Okay, that's 24th Eve. In terms of the longevity and overall projection, this will project for around 1 to 1.5 hours easily. The longevity is going to be around 7 to 8 hours when applied on the clothes. So that's not a concern. The only concern is this is not the closest to the Most Wanted Parfum DNA. The second one is, which brings me to this one. This is Bourbon Vanilla from Menworks that I already talked about in my previous video. In case you haven't checked that out, you can go ahead and check it. This is awesome. This is the real deal when you are searching for the most wanted parfum DNA and you want something in a particular budget, because this is not expensive. This perfume is around 850 rupees for a 50 ml. So effectively you are paying around 17 rupees per ml basis basically. So this is cheaper than 24 Thief. And as I said earlier, Ababel perfumes are very good for gifting purposes, but if you're buying it for yourself, for your personal usage, then Bourbon Vanilla is a better choice because this one will give you more bang for your buck. And this one is more closer to the DNA of Most Wanted Parfum. And this perfume has got that exact ginger-like note. It has got that Bourbon Vanilla-like note. And this is around 85% there in the DNA of Most Wanted Parfum. However, why is it not 100%? Because 100% is not possible because the elements are different. The materials used, sourced are different. So basically it's going to give you the vibe, but it cannot be 100%. It cannot be. Although, when you're smelling it in the air, rarely, I can say 9 out of 10 times you won't be able to distinguish which one is which. Again, if you have a trained nose, you might be able to. So Bourbon Vanilla projects again around 1 to 1.5 hours. I would say the first hour is very prominent. The next 30 minutes is kind of softer. And overall, the perfume will linger for around 6 to 8 hours depending on the weather and the situation. But I have got around 6 to 8 hours under different settings from this particular perfume and applied on the clothes. And that's an absolutely good performance and projection for the particular price that you're paying. So if I have to choose one perfume for the Most Wanted Parfum DNA, that would be Bourbon Vanilla coming from Menworks. That brings to the bonus perfume that I wanted to recommend. The bonus perfume is basically this one. This is the master perfumer's Most Wanted. This is not closer to the EDP. This is not closer to the Parfum. This is kind of 50-50 in between the two. So this is kind of a hybrid between the two where you get the elements of both the perfumes, but it's not going in one particular direction. This is kind of a hybrid between the two. Why I'm recommending this perfume, say you have never smelled a Most Wanted DNA, either EDP or Parfum. You have not smelled any and you're starting your journey and you want to know how a Most Wanted perfume would smell. But you don't want to spend a lot of money. In that case, this perfume can be a good starting point because this perfume sells for $6.99 for a 60 ml. And in a combo, this is selling for like $5.33 for a 60 ml. So the effective per ml pricing is around 8 to 9 rupees. So one of the cheapest, right? And the perfume performs like 1 hour of good projection and overall 6 to 7 hours of decent longevity when applied on the clothes. So if you're starting out on your journey and you're looking for a Most Wanted clone, not specific to the EDP or the Parfum, this is a really good starting point. And that is the reason this is in my bonus perfume of the day. Okay. Now, let me clear one confusion to you. After hearing so many things out from me, you can finally go ahead and ask me again, like, what is your recommendation? What is your ranking, right? So I'm going to clarify that as well. In my opinion, if you're going for the Parfum DNA, Most Wanted Parfum DNA, my ranking number 1 would be Bourbon Vanilla. That's it. I don't think I will go for 24th Eve over here when it comes to the Parfum DNA. However, if I have to gift something to somebody, then I would go for 24th Eve. That is for sure. What about EDP Intense? When it comes to the EDP Intense, I can only suggest 2 that I would have chosen. If possible, get an Intense Wayfarer older batch or get Dusk Till Dawn. Dusk Till Dawn from Ababel will do the job for the EDP Intense as well as Stronger With You Intensely all together in one bottle. And that is the reason I feel this is super versatile. And because I already have an older batch, I lean more towards Intense Wayfarer, the older batch. Newer batch, I can't really say. If you are getting a newer batch, I would say wait or get this one. If you're getting an older batch, go for Intense Wayfarer. Now, what about the others that I recommended? These are, according to me, like budget options. You can go for them with some compromises and there is no complaint. You can just start wherever you want. I hope this video was insightful enough for you to make a proper decision as to which one you should go for. Still, if you're confused and you need some clarifications, you already have the comment section. You can ask me questions over there or you can connect with me via Instagram, which is Saga Online, and I will try my best to answer all your queries as soon as possible. So with that, this is Deep signing off. I'll see you on the next one very soon. Bye-bye.